Hello, Bible 12. Here's what we got going on today for Monday, April 6th. You are first going to do this warm-up if you haven't done it already. It's warm-up 4/6, getting cut off. And then afterwards you're watching this, so that's why I'm like, hopefully you've done that warm-up already because you're watching this, which is the afterwards part. And then after that, we got an assignment with the Chapter 9 summary notes and then an exit ticket. As always, except for last Wednesday when I forgot to put it in here, your warm-up should be in the warm-ups tab under spring warm-ups, and your exit ticket should be in spring exit tickets. And that other one, you'll just have to hunt around for it in homework/classwork, the Chapter 9 summary notes. One other special thing that you'll have is there is another assignment called Learning to Budget, which is kind of optional for you because it's about learning how to budget. I'll have a separate screencast on budgeting that I'll link to and post in that assignment. So that way, when you want info on budgeting, you don't have to watch the stuff that I did here. You can just watch the budgeting stuff. So there's that. Let's get today's quick. It's going to be a shorter one today, but let's get today's mini lesson off to a start. For some reason it's switching my screens. There it goes. I had extended display on. Cool. So the warm-up, as you already saw, is if you're driving and someone cuts you off, what is your emotional reaction or response to the situation? Why do you think you feel that way? Why does someone else's bad driving cause you to feel anything? It kind of seems like a silly question, right? Because obviously when you get cut off or someone does something to you on the road that you don't like, it causes something in you. There's actually, I'm pretty sure that this is why sometimes, have you ever noticed that people are much more aggressive and much more likely to, I don't know, perhaps raise their middle digit up at other people or say mean things to people when they're driving, then, I don't know, like say if someone gets in front of you in the line at Target, you're much less likely to like throw middle fingers and yell, right? But for some reason when you're driving your car, it feels a little bit more normal to do that, and probably that's because there's like a barrier there, right? So you'd feel safe to express yourself. So I think that how you are in your car actually reveals probably something about what's like going on under there when you're trying to be like pretend like things are okay in your car. Like that true self comes out, that dark, or I don't know, true self is right, but like the darker version of yourself, the unfiltered version of yourself comes out. And so we can use that to analyze it and be like, what is it about getting cut off on the road that makes that like ugly part of us come out, right? Why does it make us angry, or why does it make us scared, or why does it make us feel something? So if you haven't answered that post, I want you to go ahead and answer it and read through some of your classmates' responses. Now, for me, what I've noticed is the last couple of years, people will say things like they put their life in risk by cutting them off, and so that's annoying, or they don't like being beaten by someone else, or they were disrespected. Well, often what I've discovered is that at the heart of getting cut off and what like makes us upset is that other person did not consider us. Because think about it, with consideration, like when someone is cutting you off on the road, odds are they're not thinking, oh, okay, this person in this Honda Accord, I'm gonna get him, I'm gonna cut him off. Take that person in the Honda Accord. It's not anything personal, realistically. It's probably just that person like wanted to go somewhere faster. And it's not that they wanted to cause you harm or wanted to put your life in danger or wanted to disrespect you, but rather it's that they just didn't think about you at all, right? Now, there's a bunch of different reasons people can do this. It could be that, I don't know, maybe their spouse is in labor and they're rushing to a hospital, or maybe they're late for their first day on the job. How many of us have also probably like sped and maybe cut people off because of what was going on in our lives? But when we're doing that, we're not considering other people, and those other people are probably going to interpret those actions as like things that make them upset. And so one of the things, the reason we're talking about driving and considering other people is that one of the things that marriage forces us to do is to consider others. Marriage forces us to consider others by putting us in a relationship with someone else who, if we don't consider them, will get mad, or will get upset, or will get passive aggressive, or will get sad, or will feel hurt, and then we'll see that we lacked consideration in that space. And so marriage, like all the previous chapters, marriage teaches us to love, marriage teaches us to honor, marriage teaches us to pray, marriage teaches us to become more holy, marriage teaches us to persevere. Marriage also teaches us how to consider. And it teaches us to consider through struggling. There is this verse in the book of Proverbs, and it says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. I mean, if you think about it, how does iron sharpen iron? How does a blacksmith sharpen a blade? Or how does someone, like if you have a set of kitchen knives, there's like usually like one of those like wand type things, and you like have to move the knife back and forth on it. Knives and blades are sharpened through pressure, right? Knives and blades are sharpened through collision with each other. And it's in that pressure, that friction, that collision, in the clashing, that the iron actually gets sharper. And so this is why Gary Thomas calls this chapter Sacred Struggle, is it's that there's something about that struggle that forces us to get sharper, that forces us to become better human beings. It's in the struggle that it happens. Now, don't get me wrong. There are ways to struggle that definitely do not sharpen us. If I take a knife and then I smack it against a metal pole, it's not necessarily going to make that knife sharper. But it's when you use that knife intentionally against the sharpening stone, intentionally against that sharpening stick, that it does get sharper. And so it's not just the collision, but it's the intentionality behind the collision that iron sharpens iron. This is why, like Proverbs, it's only one line, as iron sharpens iron, so when one man sharpens another. But like that one line, if you really digest it, like you realize that there's so much truth in it, that we need the collision, we need the struggle, but we need intentionality, right? We need the expertise to grow and actually sharpen each other. Now, the cool thing about struggle is that usually these chapters target like one personality or another, but like the struggle does, like it attacks both sides, because if it's not for the struggle, then we don't actually grow. And so there's some people out there who are like, I'm so good at struggling. I love fighting. I'm really good at like getting in there and mixing things up and like arguing about stuff. And I feel great in that situation. That's awesome. But then there's other people who are maybe like not confrontational, who are like the chill, let everything go. Hey, whatever happens, happens. I have to say that in relationships, your inability to struggle, your inability to enter into argument, express how you actually feel about things, debate, like actually kind of clash with your spouse, if you're unwilling to go there, you might end up robbing your spouse and robbing yourself of opportunities to grow, of opportunities to get sharper. By your avoidance of conflict and pain, you may be robbing your spouse of an attempt to become more holy. On the flip side, those of you who are overly confrontational, if you are not wielding that confrontation well, if you're just like I said before, like taking that knife and smacking it against a piece of iron, then you might be doing harm to your spouse. And so the sacred struggle is about like making sure that we learn how to consider others. The quiet, non-confrontational person, consider your spouse and teach them how to consider. Teach them how to be know how you feel about things. Teach them to take you into account when they make decisions. The overly confrontational among you, take this opportunity to learn how to consider people who might not be speaking up, right? To read their facial expressions, to read their body language, to say, wow, I think I might have hurt their feelings. And so we talked about this a bit with Myers-Briggs and even the Enneagram, but the personality tests and things that we've done this semester, um, sometimes people use them like a set of excuses. They're like, well, I'm an INTJ and I'm super logical, so I don't need to take people's feelings into consideration. Or I'm an Enneagram 8, which means that I'm assertive, and that means like, like if people just get out of my way, that's who I am. But no, the point of knowing that information is so that we can then be better people that don't have those behaviors anymore. And on the flip side, maybe you're like, I'm an Enneagram 9 and I'm just going to lay down and let whatever happens, happens. I don't have preferences. I don't have any of that. Like, false. You need to stop. And you need to actually like stand up and be a person in the marriage. And then like things will get better, right? Because then the other person will learn how to like actually love you because you're being a person. So that sacred struggle, Calvin wrote his chapter summary on this. So as per usual, go ahead and open up the chapter 9 summary. I believe it's like chapter 9 summary notes is what the assignment's called. And then, as always, star the thesis, highlight 3 important things you notice in there, or 3 quotes that you like, or 3 things that provoke questions. And then submit that. And then last, this exit ticket, I have you, you'll notice in the lesson plans, I have this set to post, I think at 12:20, because I want to see you guys all get on at the same time and then answer these 3 questions and then interact with each other about them. Make sure that you post almost like a threaded discussion, but I want it to happen like in a short window. So answer these questions and then threaded discussion, interact with each other, like people's things, talk about other people's things, respond to things that they say. And it's 3 basic questions. 1, why is it important to consider another person in and out of the marriage relationship? 2, why is it important to struggle with another person about things? And 3, how does struggling or considering others force us to grow? So don't just think about answering the questions, but think about creating interesting content for your classmates to interact with. Again, this should open up at 12:20, and then just interact with this discussion for maybe 10-15 minutes, and that's going to be the end. Like I said before, I think I said in an email that I sent yesterday, since I do have a little baby seals here in the house, my schedule is a little strange. So when you have a chance, please, like if you want to conference or ask questions or have some face-to-face time with me, just send me an email, and we can set up a conference time. I'll hit you back with this learning to budget video shortly once it's ready to go. Bye, guys.